Welcome back to Marlborough Living. Today we'll be teaching you how to make a kale salad with homemade dressing using ingredients grown directly from this tower garden. So Sabina, what is a tower garden?
Great question, Brittany. The tower garden is, as you can see, a vertical growing system. It's aeroponic, which is a version of hydroponic, and it allows for the plants to grow in an environment that gives them oxygen and a mist, which gives them the water with the nutrients by not using any dirt.
And what will we be using today?
Well, for today our focus is on kale. As you can see right here, we have beautiful kale growing on both towers. There are various options for kale. In this case, we're going to use the typical kale that people are used to from a grocery store. As you can see, it's very tender, very easy to harvest. Simply click off what you need.
How do you grow kale in this?
Well, the way we start is we use these rock wool cubes. We put our seeds in them. We leave it in water, and over, depending on what you grow, in kale's case it goes really fast, a week to 2 weeks it will germinate. Once the plant is a couple of inches tall, healthy looking, we transfer it right into the pot. Once you transfer them, there's really nothing else you have to do other than maintain the tower, which means check on your plants, make sure they look healthy. If you see something that looks a little off, clip it off. Over here you can check on the water. The base is full of 20 gallons of water, which we add nutrients to. And those nutrients get pumped up inside the tower to the very top, and then it trickles down. It's on the timer, so you don't have to worry about watering it yourself. It's very self-sustained. And speaking of sustained, it's very eco-friendly. It's a very sustainable way of growing produce on your patio, terrace, in this case indoors. If you grow indoors, obviously you'll need the growing lights. If you're outside, you have the benefits of the sun.
So obviously we're in the middle of winter right now. So aside from being able to grow this in New England inside during the winter, what makes this better than planting it outside in the ground?
Great question. There are multiple reasons. One is, as you can tell, it takes a lot less space, about 10% of conventional growing. So it's very environmentally friendly in that regard. Two, the water that I mentioned with the nutrient solution that pumps up, it trickles down, all that gets captured in the tub, so there's no runoff, which means you use about 10% of the water that conventional growing uses. So in places like California, where they have major water problems and shortages, this is an absolute must to help grow the produce in a very sustainable way. It's fun, so children, I have 2 little ones, they get very engaged from growing the seeds in the rock wool to harvesting it to cooking with it, and research actually shows that children who grow their own produce are more likely to eat it. So fun for the family, fun for those who don't have a green thumb. I did not have a green thumb when I started doing this, and as you can see, after a couple of learnings, a couple of failed attempts with a couple of plants, I learned how to do this very fast, and I'm having tons of fun doing it. So my children, as I said, are 8 and 10 years old, and my 10-year-old will say when we have salad, "Is this from the tower garden?" Because if it's not, I'm not eating it. It's just that delicious.
And if you could just show me how easy it was to cut off a piece of kale for what we're making today.
Sure enough. So literally, you take your scissors, or even your hands, you don't have to even use scissors if you don't want to, and you just clip it off. And the same is true for some of the other things that we have on the tower. Are you interested in what I'm growing today?
Yes, of course.
So we have basil, as we said, kale, arugula, lettuce, a different type of lettuce. You can grow gourmet lettuces in here. Over here we have a parsley plant that's turning into a tree by now. We have Swiss chard, collard greens. Really, you can grow anything on these towers as long as it doesn't turn into a bush or a tree, which I think you can see that would not work so well. Or things that grow into the ground, so your typical root vegetables would not work on the tower garden. Besides that, you can do leafy greens, herbs, you could do fruit, you can do tomatoes, eggplants, watermelons, beans, broccoli. Really, the sky's the limit in that regard.
Thank you, Sabina. Now that we have all of our leafy greens from the tower garden, Elaine is going to come in and show us how to make fresh kale salad. What is the first step, Elaine?
Okay, you're going to, here's our kale all chopped up, and we're going to do this. We're going to rip this apart a little bit more. And would you like, Brittany, to put the lemon juice and the honey together?
About this
Right
much?
in here.
Okay.
Yeah. Try one. Let's see, another one. Half more. That's it. Good, good, good. Now if you want to stir that up, we'll throw it in here. And now we'll massage that kale with a little salt. Put a little salt in there. It's usually kosher salt, but it really, you know, this will be fine. And maybe a little pepper. There you go.
And is this fresh lemon that you put in
Fresh
here?
lemon, absolutely.
And you pour it around?
Yes, please. And now we're going to massage that. And what I've done is, these are all the stems from the kale, which are so tender. You can't taste it because you're only seeing it, but it's extremely tender. So what we do is save these for our green drinks, which are really tasty and nutritious. Now you can go ahead and massage it.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm just mixing it around.
That's it. You've never massaged before?
Not fresh kale.
Okay. Now, if you want, I'll pour a little bit of the olive oil in for you. Do you think that's fairly done up? Because we want to get it so that it's... This kale is so tender that you don't really need a lot of... you know, if you compare it with store-bought, it's way more, much more tender. But now we'll add a little more olive oil, or some olive oil.
And what does massaging the kale do to it?
It breaks it down a little bit, but again, because this kale from the Tower Garden is so tender, you need very little massaging. If you were getting kale from a supermarket, it's quite different. It's quite extraordinarily tender. And then after that, looks pretty good. Let me get that little, you know, here's a little stem, for example, and very tender. Then you can put the sunflower seeds, toasted sunflower seeds or pepitos even.
What's the benefit of those?
Oh, that's extra nutrition. Okay. And then the final step will be our mango. You can, okay, you ready?
What does the mango add to the kale salad?
Well, clearly it's sweet and quite tasty. And the colors are amazing. Bright green and orange. It's delicious. Try it.
That really is sweet. So thank you both. You can't beat a homemade and homegrown kale salad. Until next time, this is Marlborough Living.